despite the dismissal of its application for a stay of execution and an earlier judgment in favor of the Rivers State government to collect and retain the proceeds of value-added tax in the state, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, has remained defiant. In a statement shortly after the rejection of its application on Monday, the FIRS ordered businesses and individuals residents in Rivers State to continue to honor their tax obligations as prescribed under the VAT Act. The FIRS said the ruling of the Federal High Court sitting in Port Harcourt should not cause any confusion on the obligation of taxpayers, and they should continue to comply with the VAT Act pending the determination of its appeal by a superior court. The FIRS expressed confidence that it will get judgment in its favor at the appellate court. Now here to discuss the legal fireworks expected to ensue all the way to the Supreme Court, the import of this case on fiscal federalism, and the FIRS's defiance of the court's dismissal of its application, is Dele Farotimi, a lawyer and popular rights activist. Good morning, Dele, and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, Tudun. I wish I could say it's lovely to see you, but I don't have a screen. I can't see you, but it was nice to hear your voice.
Well, it's lovely to see you and hear you, Dele.
Anyway, Dele, thank you for joining us.
Good to hear from you.
And to see that, there is a side of you that is romantic. Thank you for that poetry. Anyway, very quickly. Our main subject is the value-added tax and how the Rivers State government going to court has been able to set a precedent with regard to who collects the value-added tax, the center or the states. And, there has been observations that this particular ruling has implications for restructuring and also for fiscal federalism. What's your take in that regard? And do you imagine that many more states beyond Rivers and Lagos will enact laws to collect VAT in their states?
Doc, you are also a lawyer, as I once was. The law in relation to the collection of VAT is not, there are no ambiguities as it relates to that law. The problem has always been the nature of the Nigerian state, the fact that it is ruled by force and by impunity. Lagos State was the first to develop that thermonuclear weapon, which is actually a product of a lie that could not be sustained. And I would tie it together. I seem to be all over the place, but I would explain it. I recall that far back when our Honorable Vice President, His Excellency, was still the Attorney General in Lagos State here, it was easy for the state to realize the fact that VAT is a local tax and collections should be local. And it is also interesting that the liars who cobbled together Decree 24 that pretends to be a constitution and by which prerogative Nigeria is ruled, in spite of the fact that it is not the expressed will of the Nigerian people, they forgot that one day will come when people will remember to question the lies. Inside the lie called Decree 24, there is nothing that enables the federal government to collect VAT. VAT is not one of those taxes reserved to the federal government, I believe under Schedule 59, either 58 or 59. Like I said, I'm a retired lawyer. Better men than me, they know where the law lies there, even in that lawless constitution. So now, Lagos State was the first. I believe they approached the Supreme Court. But that claim has been conveniently abandoned today. So if Wike, whose Rivers State would have defended such a position back when Lagos State was clamoring, now unhearted that thermonuclear weapon, found the political will to pursue the right of the consuming authorities, then we can finally end the incongruity of a Isba force in Kano State, raised at the expense of my wine drinking, beer drinking, brandy guzzling habits in Lagos. So you collect my tax in Lagos, you put it in a central purse, and you then share to somebody who breaks the bottles of the same liquor from which you have taken my tax. So this incongruity has been part of the madness that we call Nigeria for too long, and we've become acculturated to it. So now that Wike, for his own reasons, because there is nothing new there, and it's the same class, it's the same family, and it's not as if the money that will now begin to accrue to the states would ever do anything for the people unless things truly change. It's just more money to be shared. But insofar as it relates to the powers and the capacity, it is a local consumption tax. Even if they like, let everybody in that appellate, whoever is going to take this case, has to go by the Constitution. And the Constitution is not ambiguous. So in the little ta-ta-ta law that I know, copy and paste and all of that, I can tell you for a fact that there is no way out of this. The restructuring has started.
And good to hear it. So, okay, the parasitic structure is coming to an end sooner rather than later. But what about refunds? Individuals in Nigerian law are unable to demand a tax refund from FIRLs. Will states be able to do the same?
See, I have this habit of not caring how thieves share the product, the proceeds of their efforts. When the people have the voice to speak in relation to what happens to their monies, that would interest me. The first thing that has been achieved, which we should all be grateful for, is that as of today, using the same iniquitous system, the same unjust men who have held all of us captive, they have in their own wars. In their own wars now, they have unearthed the thermonuclear device, and they've exploded it. They've exploded it. The creation of value before you can consume, this thing will have far-reaching effects. Between Lagos and Rivers State, they must account for well over, probably maybe as much as 70%. I'm not a tax expert, but I know that a sizable chunk comes from those two states, and it is not by accident. In Lagos State, it is because Lagos State is a net beneficiary of the refugee problem that has been in Nigeria for over 20 years. Urban drift, every family in Nigeria has one person they have contributed to Lagos. Lagos is where everybody runs to. So we consume more in Lagos State. But we've not demanded governance on the scale that we should have. But now, all these things will begin to come to the fore. You can't complain that you don't have money. And then those states that have not been creating value but have been consuming, they now have to begin to create value. The true value of Nigeria is not in our natural resources. It's in the human resources that they have been wasting willfully for years. Now they have to invest in those human resources in order to be able to create and generate consumption and then create wealth for everybody. But when you sit down and all you do is receive money and you share it and you consume it, you never get to even think about creating value. You instead sit down and you are consistently destroying value. Mannequins are banned. What about the tailor? See, we've gotten to the point of absurdity, and it is a good thing. So people like us, I'm sat down in my corner. I'm going to have fun watching what is going to happen. So all of a sudden, Lagos State House of Assembly remembers to be running around to bring a VAT bill. They knew what to do all along. It was always political. Others would do the same. Those who are not producing enough will fight it. Yes, they should fight it. But it is going to be impossible to use that Decree 24 to justify the retention of VAT collection by the federal government. Who is the federal government? Why? How come? Is it not an aggregation of all the states that becomes the federal government? All of a sudden, there is one federal government that is larger than every government. This is nice. I applaud this. And it's nice that it's also coming at a time when oil prices are crashing. We need to sit down and begin to use our brain. We cannot continue to just consume. We should use our brain, develop our human resources.
Right. Great. You said some people will revolt. Some people have started revolting. Governor of Katsina State is one.
That's good.
You know, he's revolted.
Good.
And secondly, the FIRS has revolted. In fact, we've been talking about injunctions, stay of execution, ex parte order. The FIRS, before filing an ex parte order, told all of us to ignore a court ruling, discountenance a court ruling. And finally, they went to the court to seek this, and the court did not grant them. And the FIRS still responded by saying, hold on a bit, still pay to us until we fight this out of the Supreme Court. The FIRS will be granting a press conference today as regards this situation. This is vis-a-vis us talking about ex parte orders, abusing, the legal system, not respecting court orders. What is happening, Dele?
Good to hear from you, Rufai. It's been a while.
Good to see you.
See, we have a problem in Nigeria. And this is why I'm sometimes very happy and I'm grateful for the platform offered by Rice to offer some clarifications. We've always chased after this red herring in Nigeria. We think our problem is corruption. But I have always maintained, I knew since I was like 19, even earlier, our problem is not corruption. It's always been impunity. It's impunity. Now, who is the FIRS? A creation of law, quote and unquote. But remember, I did tell you that we are not governed by law. We are governed by Decree 24. So FIRS believes that it is deriving its powers from the imperatives and prerogative of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, whom it does not believe is anchored to law. Because if it does, if it believes in the rule of law, it would not have the impunity to speak outside legality. The court has declared, as of today, the declaration of the court, until overturned by the Supreme Court, is that the FIRS cannot collect VAT. It cannot. It does not have any leg to stand on. And when it speaks thus, it is speaking in contempt of the court. And it is also speaking in contempt of the law. It is telling Nigerians to their faces that it is above the law. Now, let me say this. I said, there is one new parlance on the street. I hear it on the streets of Twitterville particularly. They say breakfast will be served hot. Yeah? The Nigerian breakfast is about to start getting served hot. The problem with injustice, always backed by impunity, is that it eventually gets round. It gets round. When the Nigerian state was, and it still does it, is trampling over the rights of the average citizen on the street and ignores court orders willfully, and the policeman on the street, who is meant to uphold the law, routinely kills, injures, treats the Nigerian as though he were to be even you treat dogs better. Then you should understand that the institutions of such a state would also act with similar impunity. And that is what FIRS is doing right now. It has no legal ground to stand on. I once said, I can't recall exactly what forum it was. I said, Vice President General Buhari has to continue pretending that we are a democracy, and impunity, or shall I say fascism, has not been given full reign. Then there must continue to be a pretense at the rule of law. We have come to a critical inflection point in our journey as a state. If we have all allowed ourselves to be bound for as long as we have been bound by a decree, and we have abided by it, been pained and constrained by it, but we have endured. But now, a court, the representation of the validity of the Constitution by which we have agreed to be bound, even though we were not consulted. Each time we pretend or come out or ask for anything, you kill us, you use the same Constitution to constrain us. Now that Constitution, imperfect and fraudulent as it is, has declared as of today that the FIRS has no such powers. You now have to begin to explain exactly by what powers the FIRS can continue to exist outside the ambit of the law. So as far as I'm concerned, the FIRS is just doing what I would call perhaps oral diarrhea. Maybe the people in their legal department have not taken the time to consider the issues, because in a just society, they should all be in jail for contempt of court.
Well, what do you think of the view expressed in certain quarters that only about 6 states actually contribute about 80% of VAT that is federally collected? Okay. And that about, 30 other states account for just about 20%. And the argument is that this landmark judgment from Port Harcourt will have a great impact on state finances. And in other words, some states will lose substantial revenue. In that regard, I've had the view expressed that perhaps the Constitution should be amended so that some states do not really suffer because of this landmark judgment on value-added tax. What do you think?
Excuse me? No, Doctor. Doc, let's be clear about something. The sovereign will of a people governs them, not the emotion or sentiment of sections or persons who might be periodically aggrieved. There are people who have had decades-long grievances whose concerns have been blithely dismissed as being inconsequential, and Nigeria has been said to be completely non-negotiable. And everybody has held their noses and continued. So yes, there is a need for Nigerians to sit down and determine whether these states, which were never created by the will of the Nigerian people, should even exist in the first place. The basis of their existence has been as revenue distribution units. And they were not creations of the will of the people. Look, the last time, I'm tired of making this distinction, but it is necessary that it be made again. The last time Nigerians were consulted as to how they wish to be ruled, they remained 4 regions. 4. Those 4 regions are what have become 36 states today. They became 36 states without any consultation with the Nigerian people. And consequential changes have been made to revenue allocation formulas to the point where it then means you created centers as feeding trough from the national feeding trough, and it's not for tribes, it's not for ethnicities, even though they were used as collection points. If they had been for tribes, the northern part of Nigeria and so many, even the south, every part of Nigeria would be blessed. But people collected money for themselves. They did not develop infrastructure. They did not do anything. So now, because all of a sudden, the instrument of evil that was evolved without consultation with the same people who had been long oppressed and held down has now been caught up in his own lies. You see, the problem with lies is that you can't build on top of lies. It will collapse eventually. The lie called the 1999 Constitution has just been killed by Wike. Wike killed it. Whether it dies today or dies in 10 years' time, the reality is that what it has caused, that judgment, that was always the self-destruct button inside that Constitution. Now that it has destroyed itself, if we had any brains, especially these are our rulers, we should sit down. Let's not just talk about what will happen to those states. What about those who have been held down with this same instrument? There are several grievances. It should be the opportunity to sit down and discuss Nigeria. The house is falling all around our ears. It's not just about that. What has happened is that Wike, an eminent member of the Nigerian ruling class, a beneficiary of the Nigerian ruling class, is the one who pressed the self-destruct button on that class. It's simple. Nigeria has to be discussed. Yes, we should talk about what will happen to every section of the country, not just those who will lose their tap, those who will lose the tap from where they have been taking money from the system. It's not the people. If it were to be the people, you won't see the state failure you are seeing in Zamfara. You won't see the state failure you are seeing all over the northwest, the northeast, in the north central. You will not see it. It's about some people losing their privileged sitting point at the feeding trough. We need to sit down. Yes, I agree, but it's not about, why should anybody give up what they don't need to give up? What has anybody else given up? If these were even being discussed in the pre-Buhari years, before the hubris that has put everybody's nose in the grind, telling everybody they can take a running one, where we are, whether we like it or not, is either President Buhari would unfold fascist rule and then enforce his own will as a man, and not the lie that pretends to be the Constitution, or he would obey the court, which is the basis of his own existence in office as the president. He is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria based on the 1999 Constitution, which is a disguised Decree 24 of 1999. So now he has a choice. He has to decide whether he wants to overthrow that constitution, which will be, and it's not, that constitution does not exist for him. It never existed for him or any other person who has occupied that office. If it existed for them, OD would not have happened. If it existed for them, there would not have been a Zakibiam. So it's not a function of it being personalized to the president, to General Buhari. It is about that office. That office is either submitted to that constitution or that office is above the constitution. Because what you are hearing from the FIRS is the ventriloquist voice. When they are talking about body language, his body language does not count anymore in this. This is about a court declaration. They have a choice. Go to the Supreme Court. Let's see what magic the Supreme Court can perform. But that's all it is.
What do you expect the Supreme Court ruling to be when it inevitably reaches the Supreme Court, this matter?
Let me put it, don't get me in trouble. Even though I'm a retired lawyer, all I would do in that particular area, I have my opinions about any justice or judge or magistrate in Nigeria, and they are not spared my opinion. And I have quite a few. But when it comes to this particular issue, what I'll say is this. They are bound by the law, and the law is trite. In this case, the law is quite trite. Dr. Abati knows. He knows. The law, as it relates, well, if it's not in the exclusive list, it's a concurrent thing. And that is the situation here. You cannot begin, unless the president, okay, why am I even saying this? Malami has a way of fishing out all kind of executive decrees. I'm sure something will come out of him, but the reality is that unless whatever they are going to do is something above the 1999 Constitution, even the Supreme Court has very little by way of choice.
Okay. So we've gone back and forth and round in circles as regards all of this. The people that are suffering are just business owners that want to just pay their VAT and move on with their lives that have been put in this limbo. While the FIRS and the state government...
They are not in a limbo. They are not in a limbo.
No. Why? You know why I say that?
The law is the law.
The law is the law, but they have all this while paid their VAT to FIRS. The state government is saying otherwise. Hang on a minute. Rivers State now has a law. Lagos has not enacted that law. If they want to pay their VAT now, how do they do it? Who do they pay to? Is it to a Lagos state that doesn't even have a law on ground as we speak? Because that's the agitation from business owners today. They don't know what to do. The FIRS will grant another press conference this afternoon. What they said before was, please still pay to us till we go to the Supreme Court. Confusion everywhere.
Rufai, a lot of Nigerians, one of the problems we have is that because we know that our laws don't work. So generally we have a lot of contempt for legal advice. Nigerians tend to, when they know that if you know the law, somebody else knows the judge. So your opinion as a lawyer is often discounted. Well, my colleagues might have divergent opinions. Me, I don't know too much law. You know, I've already confessed that I'm retired. But what I do know is this. The position of the law as declared by the Federal High Court sitting in Rivers State, Federal High Court has only one jurisdiction. And the declaration of that court is not a judgment. There is a difference to a declaration. There's something different about declaration judgment. What they're saying is that the court has declared what the law is. And that court has national jurisdiction. And it has declared that the FIRS does not have the power to collect VAT. Whether Lagos State government has decided to work at breakneck speed or snail speed, it doesn't matter. It does not lie in the mouth of FIRS to ask to be paid. They've asked for stay. It wasn't granted. So on what leg are they standing on? Is this impunity that governs Nigeria that is causing this nonsense? These persons who are making statements demanding that people should continue paying to FIRS, they are actually speaking in contempt of the Constitution. And they are speaking in contempt of the court. They should be in jail. If they want to appeal, they can go on appeal. That's different. But the position of the law, as imperfect as it is, they don't have a legal basis for asking for VAT. So if a business owner, because we're always cutting corners, you know how it is now, the original amount, the official price is 50,000, but you are happy to go and pay 500,000 because it will happen quicker. It's like you want to get a Nigerian passport now, you know the way. Don't worry, we'll speak the language we all understand. But that understanding that we are governed by impunity is why business owners are being apprehensive. Policeman that will follow FIRS to go and do enforcement in relation to VAT at this time is already being funny because he's not acting within the law. The FIRS will not be acting within the law either. So why am I going to be giving anybody advice on whether they, okay, well, we are all Nigerians. All we can do as lawyers in a lawless society is to declare what the position of the law is. And I think I have done that. That's why we appear to have been going round and round in circle, because we are looking for the truth where only lies would appear to be preponderant. Let me use that word from Ikemba, the preponderance of lies. Because if it wasn't for that, this is a non-issue. It's a non-issue. It's a non-issue. We shouldn't be discussing this.
Well, on that note, we'd like to thank you very much.
Republic.
We'd like to thank you very much, Dele Farotimi, for joining us this morning on The Morning Show. Thank you very much.